back to Vectorworks. I'm going to be attempting the puzzles mentioned from the last lesson. I'm going to start off with the easiest one and work our way through the intermediate and the expert, and then we'll have a go at some of the other things mentioned later on in the video. So to begin with, we're going to have a look at the bathtub, and we're going to focus on the polyline tool as that was part of the exercise. For most of this I'm going to use the point arc mode, and I'll explain why it's slightly better than some of the other modes that are mentioned here, the previous two. So let's have a look at drawing this bathtub. I'll try and feature it down here in the bottom right hand corner and focus up here on the top left hand corner. So starting with the main part of the tub, we just want 3 points, 1, 2, 3, to create a curve like this. Now midway through this I'm going to hit the U key on my keyboard. You could click on the icons, but if you see it shuffles through my icons, and I want to go to the straight line mode here and just draw a flat base. As you can see, it's hidden by the two ovals, but we presume that it's either straight or a curve. I'm going to make it straight in this just to show off that you can switch midway through. And also I'm just going to draw it a certain way. I'm going to just draw it to halfway here, and I'm then going to draw up to the top here, and I'm going to use smart points. Smart points are something we haven't discussed yet, and I'll see if I can explain it a little later on. But essentially, if you hover over any point with smart points active, it'll lock for a second and make a little red box around that point, as you can see here. And you notice instantly I'm starting to get all these crazy extension lines on 30-degree angles, straight line angles, and what I'm going to use is that to line up. And you see the moment that I come on the vertical here, I've given the vertical extension line there in green, and then the moment I come in line it'll lock in and turn red, and that gives me this point here, and I know that this point here is now in line with my straight here. And coming back across to here, I'm going to complete this with the straight and I'm up with this. Now using the mirror tool, which I know is something we use a little bit later on, but I could have completed the rest of that by freehand. Just to get this exact, I'm going to grab the mirror tool, put it on my duplicate mode, draw down the middle of this, so you can see I'm making a mirror plane. So hopefully I should flip this across to the other side with my next click. There we go, I've got two halves. And then using another thing that we learnt in our last lesson, by selecting the two of those, I've just held down Shift and clicked on both. I could have drawn it like this and selected over the top of both. I'm going to right click and use the Add Surface command. And that's going to create the lower half of my bathtub. Using the oval tool, which is a tool that I said was rarely used, in this instance it's going to work out quite well. I'm going to create these kind of feet here, they're about that size. And using my lock in, I can drag this across here and find the center. You can see it locks to center naturally. I'm just going to place that on that corner there. And I'm going to copy that with my Command C, and using Command Alt C for me, or if you want the Mac shortcut, it'll be up here under Paste in Place. I think it's Command Shift V or Command Alt V, I can't remember. It'll paste in place. Paste in place means that you've pasted it directly on top, so you can see now I've got another one there. If I hit that command again, Command Alt V for me, I'll just paste another one directly on top. It works slightly better than Command V, which kind of places it wherever you last clicked, which can also be handy. So I'm going to get rid of a couple of those, lock that one into there. Now that I've got that in place, I'm going to draw the rim around the top here. So grabbing my polyline tool again, putting it back onto this arc mode here, I'm going to draw, starting in this corner, dropping down a fraction. I'm going to try and lock to the midpoint. You can see it just locked there. I could have done it down the bottom here as well, to the midpoint. This is just helping me get a really nice arc happening. Just judging this by somewhere about there, and then back up to this top corner here. You can see that's 1, 2, 3 clicks that I've made there, which is exactly what this is, 1, 2, 3 on arc mode. Now I'm going to come back to this point here. I'm just going to make a judgment here, about there somewhere. And you can see I'm using that extension line there. If I hover onto this corner, it makes a little red box, and then it gives me that vertical extension line. I'm just going to guess somewhere about here. Back down, zooming back out again, to the midpoint here, which is still selected. I could just hover over it again and get the midpoint. And then coming back up here. Now this is a really cool one. This is the dual point. So I'm going to go over to here, this far left hand side. I'll see if I can clear all these points up first. No, it's not letting me. I'm going to hover on this left hand point. So I'll grab that one there, and I'm also going to grab this one here. And you can see I get two extension lines. One from the horizontal all the way across to the other side of the bathtub, and one from the far left hand corner there rising upwards. That means that I know this is the same on both sides because of the way I've drawn it. So that's my third click there, and then I'm going to do 1, 2 to complete. Now you can see I'm not quite happy with the edges of those bathtubs, so what I'm going to do is double click on this shape and go into edit mode, and this is just the same as if I had to grab this. This is the reshape tool and clicked on this object. And I'm just going to tidy up these points by grabbing this one, just having a play somewhere about there, and having a look on this side as well. Try and bring that in a bit. That looks a little bit nicer. So there's our bathtub, and all that's remaining really is the bubbles, and that was more of just an exercise of you guys getting to use these tools a bit more. The reason I didn't use this one here, the Cube Vertex mode, for this is because if I tried to draw that shape, and I'll basically do it now for you, is that it works well for that first curve, but it tries to adapt for the next part of the curve, and you'll see when I click here and then click here, it's not following the points quite right, and it'll just keep extrapolating as you keep going through your curve until I lock into here, and you can see it's just horrible on both these ends because of the way that curve works. It's trying to match this and smooth it through to the next point. You could just click more inside there and make that curve yourself, but it's really easy with this here, the point arc mode, where you do 1, 2, 3 clicks, and even if you just watch me do it, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, you end up with a much nicer curve for this particular drawing style. Anyway, lastly, bubbles. I'm just going to use the arc mode again because it's quite easy. Just choose a starting point. For me, I'm going to just randomly start up here, and this is more of just a visual kind of exercise over the top. Now, I did particularly choose this because you'll notice in this image it actually follows the line of the bathtub for a section, so we can do that by clicking here, following the bathtub, and then resuming again. That's pretty close, and that's all that's remaining is some bubbles, which are simply circles. Draw these from the center out here, just because that's my preference. There we go. That's pretty close, I'd say. So I'm going to have a go at the tree, the intermediate level now. It's pretty straightforward, really. It's only using two modes of this, this mode here, the Cube Vertex mode, and the Point Arc mode. Mainly the Cube Vertex is for the trunk, which is quite a freehand kind of flowing object, and then the Cube Vertex is for all those angles that keep going to a point, then swapping back around, going to a point, then swapping back around. So mainly I'm just going to draw this, and I'll probably just time-lapse it up, just to make it a bit quicker. But yeah, the other thing I'm going to note before I start is down here, particularly for this, the Cube Vertex mode, I'm actually going to turn my snap to angle and my snap to intersection and perhaps even my smart points off. I'll see about smart points as I go. But mainly the reason I'm doing this is because when you start doing small fiddly stuff, you can see it starts to snap in occasionally to all these angles. And I found when I just did this before to try and do the tree stump, that it was really painful doing these kind of small fiddly movements with the mouse, and you can see I'm just getting constrained in all different directions. The moment I turn these two off though, it's more of a freehand environment where I can just kind of jump in, do a whole series of lines, get that curve really happening along there. Anyway, I'm going to time-lapse this and we'll see how we go. And there we go. That's it. Finished for now. Let's move on. So now we're going to move on to the expert puzzle, which is quite similar. Just to save me time in terms of recording, just so I don't have to keep flicking monitors, I'm importing the file. Just to run through what I'm doing here. File, import, image file. And you can do this with any file. There is a lot better ways to do it for texturing and wallpapers, which we'll discuss in about lesson 4 or 5. But just for now, while you're doing tracing projects, I'm going to choose the image file that I've got here. Click open. It'll ask you how you want to import it, and I'm going to click JPEG and place it in here. Now this is just for me, and we will run through this in the future, as I said, through importing, especially when we get onto PDFs. But this is just purely to save me time. So I'm going to throw that there, and I'm also going to lock the object, which is just a handy thing. It means that I can no longer move it nor click on it at all. So I'm going to get started, and we'll time lapse this out again.
Where my gals at, and to the fellas, where my pounds at, I know you found that, nocturnal's about that, singing through the darkness, now let me get a soul clap, now let me get a soul clap, and let me hear you say, all day, yeah, who are you, how do you do, come on here, sit down, grab a brew, join my crew, I'm hoping you don't think that I am preachy or pompous, I could promise you my intention was the opposite, cause see I don't have much time to be talking about partying and drinking wine, said I'll tell you how I lost my mind, and then I got it back with a soul clap, and a burn the incense, wake the drone, dial tone, get on the phone, spread the word, get in the zone, cause birds of a feather can flock through any weather, and I think it better if we unite the tribe and do this forever, stack a little cheddar, eat it all together, make a new gift to kinda me, then forget about the past, rewrite, think fast, now put this track on blast, where my owls at, and where my gals at, and to the fellas, where my pounds at, I know you found that, nocturnal's about that, singing through the darkness, now let me get a soul clap, now let me get a soul clap, and let me hear you say, all day, yeah, I hear the hate, decided we're Illuminati, kinda funny and you're late, let me help you now relate, you said you crazy witch, don't let them hear you spit, who do you think you are, and who did you come with, turns out I got a whole squad, owls on my side, the nocturnal tribe, we rather walk instead of ride, for the ground beneath our feet, we marching in the street, awakening fears on blast, so we could delete, complete, put the past where it belong, we are from one home, she go Gaia, Mother Earth, and the planet's prone, to be unforgiving if you don't change how we're living, in your being, what you're seeing, can be deceiving, but we're responsible for what we're streaming, out of transmission towers that we call brains, our electric car, more powerful than fame, so send out love and say, ooh, after your name, where my owls at, and where my gals at, and to the fellas, where my pounds at, I know you found that, nocturnal's about that, singing through the darkness, now let me get a soul clap, now let me get a soul clap, and let me hear you say, all day, where my owls at, where my gals at, and to the fellas, where my pounds at, I know you found that, nocturnal's about that, seeing through the darkness, now let me get a soul clap, where my owls at, and where my gals at, and to the fellas, where my pounds at, I know you found that, nocturnal's about that, seeing through the darkness, now let me get a soul clap, now let me get a soul clap, and let me hear you say, all day, where my owls at, and where my gals at, and to the fellas, where my pounds at, I know you found that, nocturnal's about that, singing through the darkness, now let me get a soul clap, now let me get a soul clap, and let me hear you say, all day.
So I think that's about as far as I'm going to go today. Hopefully you've seen how you could approach this task, and yeah, it's quite time consuming. I'll have to check the time to see how I went. My total time for that was 12.5 minutes up until now, which isn't too bad. Probably could have done it a little bit quicker, but that's alright. There's multiple reasons why you would do this, and what I'm trying to do is just give you guys as many different ways as possible to approach tasks. Now, this is just one way that you could have approached this. There are so many other ways. Some are faster, some are slower, and there's reasons why you would use each kind, I guess. So you might have to do this for wallpaper, you might have to do this for a flooring, a textured design, anything like that, that you might just have to convert what you have here as a kind of analog image, if you want to think about it that way. And this one here is a digital, just made up of vertexes and individual pieces. So it's quite important to know that you can do this. You could also do it in Photoshop, Illustrator, multiple other design packages, and each of them would have a different result. And as I said, each one has a different method. So we're going to move on from here onto the next puzzle. So, second last puzzle. It's a bit of a mind bender when you first look at it, but it's actually quite straightforward, and hopefully we'll just knock it out in a few minutes. Straight off, I'm just going to have to draw one square. So double clicking on here, and I've already got some stuff typed in here, sounds good. Width of 10, height of 10, top left hand corner at 0 and 0, and I've dechecked this box, so I know it's going to land there at 0, 0. Hit OK, there's our box there. That's a really good start. Now, there's one place that you can go wrong with this puzzle, really, and that's by doing this. If I was to then place another one of these down at 0, 0, and just shuffle him across a little bit, so now I've got two sitting side by side. If you were to then grab your rotated rectangle tool and go, I'm going to make a triangle, just go from here to here, awesome, go from here to here, awesome, put my snap grid on, and then, oh yeah, I've made a triangle, and that's going to be awesome. Grab over those, right click, clip, don't follow along with me by the way. Click, click, now I've made a triangle. Your issue is going to come about when you try and rotate that round. And this is where the math nerds will be like, oh yeah, I know where you're going with this. So that's going to work fine. That's going to work fine. Even that's going to work fine. And by the way, I'll tell you how I'm doing this in a sec in case you've forgotten from last lesson. The issue's going to come about when you put your next rectangle on the back of that. So I'm going to grab another one of these, and just by clicking on this and holding down my control key, I believe it'll be command for you guys, and dragging, see how I get that little plus there? That means I'm copying this, so I let go of the mouse and I've got another one. Really easy kind of thing to do. So I'm going to pop this shape right here on this corner, and I'm looking at a specific bit of the puzzle. I'll see if I can zoom in on it or something for you. But when I rotate this around to meet this edge, my triangle isn't actually going to work in here. It's not going to make the right triangle when these two bits match up. And the reason for that is because this edge here is too long, same as this edge here. It needs to be an equilateral triangle, which means that this edge here needs to be the same as this and the same as this. And I can prove it to you, and this is just for math nerds out there. There's a 10 long line that I've just drawn along that edge there. I'm going to draw another line that goes from this corner to this line, and it tells me it's 11. It's probably more like 11.5. If I bring this out here and just rotate that around so it's sitting at 0 or 90 degrees, because we're working on a different system here, you'll see that this line is actually longer than that line. So how do we make them the same? That's the question. And there's just really one easy way to do it, to be quite honest. I'm going to grab one more of these, two more of these, get rid of these lines. I'm going to pop this right on here, and then using this, which I know has a 10 long side, I'm going to place it here on this corner. I'm going to rotate it. For math nerds out there, go to 30 degrees. For all you standard people, you'd probably just pick this arbitrarily. But you can see now that I've made this, and I know that this side here, and this side here are all 10 units long, in this case millimeters, because that's what we're working with. So now I can go ahead and do my clip, right click, clip surface. So just what I'm doing there, same as last lesson, I've grabbed these two objects, this one and this one. They're both on top of this object here. So by selecting all three, right clicking and choosing clip from the menu that pops up here, clip surface, it's cut this box and this box through this box. You can see my remaining pieces are here and here, because all the rest is gone, disappeared from under there. So that's really good for me. I can pop this back down in here. Now I did some pretty quick and easy rotations then. If you missed them, this is how it worked. Same as last lesson. Select the object, go to your rotate function up here, choose this one here, rotate in duplicate mode. You click once, click twice, wherever you might want to start the rotation from, and that first click is pinned now, so wherever I rotate around for my third click is where it's going to land. So I'm going to choose this point here. I've made another one. So click, click, rotate, click, click, rotate. Now if you were on it, you'd grab two of them. Do the same thing. Click, click, rotate twice the length, and there you go, you've made a hexagon out of triangles. So then you'd say, alright, that's pretty cool. Where do I go from here? So just looking back over at my reference image, I want to grab another one of these triangles, holding down my control key, probably your command key. I'm going to pop that on there, give that a little rotation. Don't really want to copy it this time. Okay, that's looking good. Now, so it goes square, triangle, square, triangle, square, triangle, square, triangle. Select these two, grab my rotate function from here round to here. Should have had that on rotate and copy. Let's do another one. From here to here. So everyone starts seeing where I'm going here. Grab this from here to here. From here. I can do this from anywhere. Here to here. Okay, where are we going next, guys? Looking on my map. It's just building the same pattern over and over and over again. So I'm going to do a little bit more. Might speed it up a little bit and we'll see how we go. I managed to do it. I'm pretty sure that's it. Oh, it doesn't look like I finished there. Each of these needs to be flipped on the outside. Damn it, I was so close to being done. Oh, and they're different for every set. Oh no, they're not. It's okay. Don't fret, everyone. I figured it out. So yeah, as you can see here, I've colorized mine just to make it a little bit easier for those of you who are struggling with the geometry going on here, and it will do your head in. But that's the final result there compared to the original. As you can see, I've achieved the pattern, and you should hopefully see some sort of relationship there between the shapes, even though it looks like a weird pattern at the start. And if you weren't colorblind before, you probably are now. So good work, everyone, and let's do the last puzzle. So this last puzzle is all about accuracy and scale and just really working with the snapping and locking tools of Vectorworks. So I'm going to turn a couple of these on. When you're looking at the snapping window, it's easiest just to hover over these to know what they do. I'll run through them now though, and we will run through them again. But you've got snap to grid, snap to corners and centers, snap to specific angles such as 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, and a specific angle if you choose. This is snap to intersections. Yeah, it's pretty simple really, snap to intersections. Smart points is fantastic. It's basically hover on a point and you can do up to 3 of them, and then you can align stuff to them. You've got snap to distance, which is you can set a distance inside there by double clicking. Snap to a smart edge, so if you're trailing off the edge of something it'll give you a smart edge, and snap to tangent, which you'll never use but it's for circles. We'll go through those a lot later on, but that's just me running through. I had D-check snap to angle and snap to intersection for the previous exercises. So the important thing with this one is all about scale, and when you're looking at it you just need to focus on one particular unit and figure it out from there. So in this instance, since we're working in tens, I'm going to keep this a width of 10, a height of 10, insert at 0, D-check position at next click, hit OK, and there. So we're going to call that 1 unit. And in my case I'm going to grow upwards from that, and I'm going to grow downwards from that. So I'm looking at just one square. There's a whole heap of squares in this puzzle. I'm just going to choose one, which is the start of a kind of staircase deal going on, and I'm just going to work from there. Just quickly counting it, it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 across, and what I've noticed is that it's got a smaller square inside it. And now I'm just going to call that a 5 by 5. So copying that and pasting it in place with my shortcut. So now I've got 2 of that in there. As we saw from the previous exercise, that was Control Alt V for me, and I believe it's Apple key Alt V for you guys. I'll just have to check that. Anyway, so now I've got two of those sitting on top of each other, and I'm just going to shrink this one down by putting a 5 in here and a 5 in there. That's made it about half size. I'm going to drag that in. There we go. So now that I've got that, I'm going to use a special command called group, Control G. You can also grab it from up here in the edit menu, in the modify menu, sorry, under group and ungroup. Control G, Control U, Apple key G, Apple key U, all kinds of the same thing. Using the duplicate tool, which we learned about last time, otherwise known as move by points, I'm going to make another 1, 2, 3, 4 of these, because that's how many I want. So I'm going to move by points. Number of duplicates is 4, and I want extra options with this because I'd like to retain, which is already selected for me. So hitting OK, I want to move this 1 unit length across, and I want 4 of them. That's what I've just typed in. 4 of those. Keep this, and the last part is how far you want to move it. So I want to move it from here to here, that distance of 10, 4 more times, and there we go. And then another really easy one for you. I'm going to grab all of these, and I'm just counting here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It goes the same height up. So I'm going to do the same action upwards, and there we go. I've got a grid of squares. That was pretty straightforward, and I'm going to use one of my custom selection tools, as we learned about straight out from last lesson, just to draw a basic marquee around these objects here. There we go, and I'm going to hit delete. That's the start of my staircase. That's probably, I don't know, what, a sixth of the puzzle done already. So, moving on from there, I'm going to put this back on rectangular marquee, something I always forget about, and I'm going to draw another one. There we go, another rectangle. Excellent. And I'm just going to temporarily move this part of my puzzle over here and group all of that together. So that's one component now. So attached to that component I can see some triangles. So let's do that. Why don't I use the line here? Cut straight through there with my line. And you can use a line as a cutting tool as well. So if I choose clip surface, you'll see it's broken that into 2 triangles for me. Heaps of other ways I could have done that. I could have drawn a rectangle over and cut it away and then duplicated it with the mirror tool. I could have used my slice tool. So many different ways I could have made that. Pull that all back there. Delete the line. And I'm going to pop this over here. Now it attaches to the bottom of this staircase here. Going to group that object singularly. And another here, move by points. Once again, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those, please. In addition to the one I already have. And the distance is from this corner here to this corner here. There we go. That's pretty easy. What else we got going on? So we've got bits attached to that. We've got some downward strips going on here. Now I'm just going to have a look at how high they are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 units high. Okay, that's pretty easy. So in here, I've got a width of 10 still, and I've got a height of 60 in my case. This time I am going to position at my next click with the top left-hand corner selected. And here we go. Click into there. Okay, hopefully you know the part of the puzzle I'm talking about now, just by flicking back and having a look. I'll also provide the image files in the link description, hopefully, so you can have a play with all of these. And then once again, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. Already got 5 up there. How handy. There we go. That's pretty good. Now attached to the bottom of those is also some squares at the bottom of those. What I'm going to do is, just so we play with all of our tools today, I'm going to grab the mirror tool and flip those over. There we go. And then using our pin here, I've got the top left hand corner selected, and I'm just going to make their height 10. There we go. That's pretty easy to make some squares. So I just left all of those there, reduce the size. What else can I do here? So it's got some circles in the middle of that. I'm going to leave those for the time being. And let's work on the big circle underneath that. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units high. Excellent. Grab my circle tool. Double click on it. Now, I could either type in a radius of 30, which is half of 60, or I could just type in 60 in here, and it'll figure out that the radius is 30. Center it, next click. Sure, why not? Just pop it over here. Okay, now also within that circle, it looks like there's another circle. It's 1 unit smaller on each side. So why don't I go ahead and make that now? That means it's got a diameter of 40. Or, seeing as this accepts math, I could have done 60 minus 10 minus 10. Just, you know, if you can't really think about it, if you're working with odd numbers or something, just do the math in there. Hit OK. center it next click. I'm going to get right smack bang on there with my intersection and locking tools that I've got over here. You can see my snap to object gives me a little center point as well. Bam, there's the center point right there. Left click, there it is, right in the center. And it looks like we've also got another one inside there that's another 20 units smaller. So that makes it a diameter of 20 in there. And there's even one more inside of that, which is a diameter of 10. Great. There we go. Now, what's going on with those? I can see that they've been cut in some odd fashions. So it looks like that back one there has a slice going through the center of it. Like that. So if I select only the outside one and this line here, right click, clip surface, and delete, you can see I've put a line straight through the middle of there. But I could draw this box here. It's got a width of 10 and a height of 60. That's perfect. I'm going to select this top center position here and position it next click. Hit OK and put this box on here. That's pretty good already, but I want it to be better than that. So I'm going to grab my line tool, and using my smart points, I'm going to draw a line that goes down here and a line that goes down here. I'm just overextending these so you can see the lines really. Get rid of the box in the middle. We end up with this. What I'm going to do from here is select this line, this circle, this circle. Yeah, that'll do for now. I'll grab this line as well. We'll see what happens. Right click, clip surface. Has it broken into pieces? Yes, to a degree. Only from the primary line. This is a bug that I've been having in 2013. It should work in 2012 with you guys, that you can multi-clip. But just for the purpose of this, I'm going to have to do another clip here as well. So I'm going to have to grab these bits that didn't quite cut properly that time and clip them again. There we go, that piece, and that piece. Fantastic. And then we're going to do the same thing to this little center circle here. So I'm just going to grab these ones individually, right click, clip surface, and I'm going to grab this one and this piece as well and clip that surface. Now if I get rid of these lines here, oh, that one didn't seem to work for some reason. Just try that again. This one, right click, clip surface. There we go, that's better. Delete that, delete that. That's looking pretty darn close. Just having a look at the image, it's got some stuff going on in the background that we'll deal with later. And I'm going to position that right here. So that's a really good start to my drawing. Just trying to see if there's any others that might need attention before I go ahead and do the rest in time-lapse. I don't think there is, and if there are, feel free to ask in the comments and I'll make another little demo for you. Otherwise, I'm just going to go ahead and do the rest of this.
Listen to the rhythms of our slanted voices. Listen.
There you have it, ladies and gents. Total time of 14 minutes, which isn't too bad, I have to say. Yeah, that's a really fun one, but it does demonstrate to you just the power and the flexibility of the circles and the squares, how you can do things, and you know, we've just created something just out of circles and squares. So it's a really good exercise, getting you practicing, getting you involved, and really thinking about how you can manipulate the objects that you have to create this kind of, I don't know, artwork, I guess it's called. But this relates seriously to a whole heap of components that one day you might just have to build. And that's the end of the solution video for Lesson 1. This is Vectorworks 2013, the 2A design series with James Russell, and hopefully now you'll be moving on to Lesson 2. Good luck!